Good afternoon. This is Kathleen Drew, Chair of the Energy Facility Site Evaluation Council, and we are now beginning our August monthly meeting. Ms. Owens, will you call the roll, please?
Department of Commerce.
Kate Kelly, present.
Department of Ecology. Department of Fish and Wildlife.
Mike Livingston, present.
Department of Natural Resources.
Lenny Young, present.
Utilities and Transportation Commission.
Stacy Brewster, present.
Local government and optional state agencies for the Goose Prairie project, Department of Transportation.
Bill Sorial, present.
For the Horse Heaven project, Department of Agriculture. Benton County. Assistant Attorney General.
This is John Thompson, present.
Administrative Law Judge Johnette Sullivan. Adam Torum. For EFSEC staff, Sonia Bumpus.
Joan, I'm present.
Amy Hofkemeyer.
Present.
Amy Moon.
Amy Moon, present.
Kyle Overton.
Kyle Overton here.
Joe Wood.
Joe Wood, present.
Sean Chisholm.
Sean Chisholm, present.
Patty Betts.
Present.
Stu Henderson. Stephen Posner. Is our court reporter on the line?
Yes, this is Taylor Garlinghouse, present.
And I do see Mr. Dengel from Department of Ecology on my list here now.
Rob Dengel, present.
Great. Moving on to operational updates, Kittitas Valley Wind Project. Wild Horse Wind Power Project.
Jennifer Galbraith, present.
Grays Harbor Energy Center.
Kittitas.
Was that Eric Melbardis I just heard? I'll try again for Grays Harbor Energy Center.
Chris Sharon is on the line for Grace Harbor Energy Center.
Thank you. Chehalis Generation Facility. Columbia Generating Station.
Marshall Schmidt, present.
Columbia Solar.
Bowen Hurt, present.
Council for the Environment, Bill Sherman. Chair, there is a quorum for the EFSEC Council and the Goose Prairie and Horse Heaven Council.
Thank you. Moving on to our proposed agenda, we have the proposed agenda before us. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
This is Stacy Brewster. I'll move we adopt the agenda.
Second?
Kate Kelly, second.
Are there any proposed changes or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the agenda, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The agenda is adopted. Moving on to the minutes. We have the meeting minutes from the July 20th, 2021 monthly meeting. You have them in draft form and have had a chance to review them. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Kate Kelly, move to approve the minutes from July 20th,
Thank you.
2021. Stacy
Rob.
Brewster, second.
Thank you. I do have a couple of minor corrections that I wanted to see changed in the minutes on page 23 from between lines 17 and 24. There was a conversation with Amy Hofkemeyer, and in the minutes referred to as AMY. She spells her name AMI, so I'd like to see that corrected on page 23. And then on page 25, on line 10, there's a reference to the transmission work group and the SEPA. Unfortunately, I did not explain what I was saying in the words, but this is actually not SEPA, but CESA, and refers to the Compatible Energy Siting Assessment, which is a contract which we are working with the Department of Commerce on, funded by the Department of Defense. So if we can change the letters there from SEPA to CESA, I'd appreciate it. Are there any other changes or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Minutes are approved as amended. Thank you all. Moving on to our facility updates. We will start with Kittitas Valley Wind Power Project.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, EFSEC, Council, and staff. This is Eric Melbardis with EDP Renewables for the Kittitas Valley Wind Power Project. During the month of July, I had nothing non-routine to report. The only thing out of the ordinary was my annual TAC report, TAC update email that was sent, although that is an annual routine function of our project.
Thank you, Mr. Melbardis. I'm glad you're on the line. I did have a question for you. I see on your report that it was a capacity factor of 63.43%.
Yes, we had
I'm not sure I'm not sure I've ever seen the facility at that high a capacity level.
Yes, it's been quite a windy summer season for us. We've been near capacity the whole time, and it's a good kind of wind because it's not too high where it stops our turbines. So,
great.
Yes, we're doing well here.
Great, thank you. Moving on to Wild Horse Wind and Solar Facility.
Yes, thank you, Chair Drew, council members and staff. This is Jennifer Galbraith with Puget Sound Energy at the Wild Horse Wind Facility. The only non-routine item I have for the month of July is that the Renewable Energy Center, or our visitor center, opened to the public on July 1st. Additional safety protocols have been implemented based on Washington State and LNI guidelines, as well as specific PSC policies regarding COVID-19 to provide a safe environment for our employees, guests, and others that visit the facility.
Are you requiring that guests wear masks when they're in the facility?
We are strongly recommending that in spite of your vaccination status, that you wear a mask. Yes, we are requiring, or not requiring, but strongly recommending it at this time.
Unfortunately, things have changed since July 1st when we thought they were going to continue to.
Yeah,
so
they sure have. And we have reduced the size of our tour groups in half. So
thank you. Thank you for what you're doing to keep people safe too.
Thank you.
Now, Chehalis Generation Facility, Mr. Miller.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, council members and staff. I apologize for being late. I was just getting off another call. I do have one non-routine comment to add, and I talked briefly with staff about water purchase for electric generation purposes here at the Chehalis Generation Facility. Our EFSEC permit conditions require that we constrain or limit those purchases when the Chehalis River flow as measured at the USGS Grand Mound Monitoring Station reaches 165 cubic feet per second or less. Now, we ceased purchasing water from them in early July 8th, and then the USGS recalibrated their equipment and it changed that we could have been taking water, but nevertheless, you know, that is the information that we're required to follow, is that information from that monitoring station. And then the river flow as of today is still around 111 cubic feet per second. So we still haven't purchased water for the month of July, and then now almost 2/3 of the way through the month of August. So our water supply that we maintain on site is going to hopefully get us by until we have some good rain in the Chehalis River Basin, because it is a stream, or it's a rain-fed and system. It's not a snow melt system, and so we are getting kind of close, and we hopefully will get some rain soon. I know that the drought impacts for the West in general are significant, but surprisingly for us here in Southwest Washington, it is impacting us as well. So we're still generating around the clock. We still have water reserve on hand, and we're just looking forward to some rain.
So thank you for that more detailed report, because I did want to ask you a question about that. Have you ever been in this situation, and what happens if you do reach a point where you need water but can't draw from the river? Or from the, I'm sorry, not from the river, but purchase from the city of Chehalis?
So we have had periods of time in the last 8 years where we have not been able to purchase water from the city of Chehalis. The city of Chehalis takes their water from the North Fork of the Newaukum River, which is a tributary to the Chehalis. And we've gone, maybe 3 weeks, but this is the longest stretch, since the plant was built where we have not taken water. And that's why in the original permit, the amount of water storage that was built on site was why it was built, some of those reasons. And also why we employ the use of air-cooled condensers versus evaporative cooling that typical thermal generating facilities would have. So our facility, was built more for an arid region, and people sometimes are confused by that. But the primary purpose of that was to manage, water taken from the Chehalis, which impacted the salmonoid species and other, concerns that were discussed and reviewed when the permit was first issued. It's quite a bit different than the permit that was originally for the SATSUP Washington Public Power Supply nuclear stations, where they had the large evaporative cooling towers there and the rainy wells, etc. And I believe that they use evaporative cooling down there for the combined cycle plant. But our permit is definitely more constrained in what we can take from, ultimately goes into the Chehalis River. Now, the city of Chehalis has adequate water supply. They could sell us more, but our permit is very specific that when the river flow at Grand Mound reaches 165 cubic feet per second, we can no longer purchase water. And I kind of started some conversations with the EFSEC staff. There may be interest by the company and EFSEC to look at alternate gauging systems, maybe if could be more reflective of what's available in the basin and from the city of Chehalis. We are, I believe, the second largest consumer of water from the city. I think National Frozen Foods, which is a seasonal operation where they harvest the peas and corn and wash them and freeze them locally. So we're a big user and big customer for the city, but we've also managed, I think, pretty well our use of water with these air-cooled condensers. We manage our leaks, internal leaks in the heat recovery steam generators the best we can, doing tube repairs. We've had a couple short outages that we took early this summer to make sure that we weren't consuming more water than what the original designs called for. So we're being very efficient as best we can within what's starting the age of the thermal combined cycle plant. Hope that wasn't wordy.
No, I appreciate the full explanation and discussion, because in reading your report, those were the questions that came to my mind. Council members, are there any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Miller.
All right, thank you.
Moving on to Grays Harbor Energy Center, Mr. Sharon.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, council members, EFSEC staff. Chris Sharon, the plant manager at Grays Harbor Energy Center. For the reporting period of July, I have no non-routine items to report.
Thank you. Columbia Generating Station and Washington Nuclear Project 1 and 4, Mr. Schmidt.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, EFSEC council members and staff. This is Marshall Schmidt reporting for Energy Northwest. I only have a few items for the month of July. First, I wanted to point out our quarterly environmental compliance audit was completed July 21st. Our next audit is scheduled for October 2021. Second, we have submitted our proposed minor revisions to the Columbia Generating Station Groundwater Quality Assurance Project Plan, and we have requested EFSEC approval of those revisions by October 31st, 2021, if at all possible. Finally, I have an organizational note to make. The Energy Northwest Executive Board has named Robert Schutz as the new agency CEO. Prior to his appointment as CEO, Mr. Schutz was the site vice president. That is all that I have to report.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council members? Moving on to the Columbia Solar projects. Mr. Hurd.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, council members and EFSEC staff. This is Owen Hurd from Tuso Energy reporting on the Columbia Solar projects. The status of work completed to date, we've completed driving piles on Penstamen, the first of the 3 projects, and completed our medium voltage underground work. Puget Sound Energy has also recently begun work on the point of interconnection. On the second project, Camas, pile driving is now underway and equipment area pads are also in progress. On Utica, we've completed our construction surveys or wrapping up the final details of those and working on underground work at present. So environmental compliance, Golder is out on site for inspection today, and Golder and Northwest Code inspections are ongoing with no issues to report. Safety compliance, we're having our daily safety tailgate meetings, and wildfire smoke and high heat has been an issue recently. We have N95 masks on site, and we're taking additional water breaks based on different heat levels. Changes that are upcoming, we're continuing to work on the planting plans, and the torque tubes are just now arriving, so that'll be the next stage of the racking. That's all I have to report.
Thank you. Are there questions from council members? Thank you. Next item on our agenda is, are we talking about the public informational?
Yes, Chair Drew, this is Kyle Overton, the site specialist for Columbia Solar.
Thank you.
I'll provide an update on the SCA amendment request. So on July 28th, EFSEC staff received a request to amend 5 of the site certification agreements for the Columbia Solar projects. The request is for terminating the agreements for the Taifa and Fumeria sites and transferring ownership of the Camas, Penstemon, and Fumeria sites. Additionally, a request was received to transfer overall control of the project from Tuso Energy to Greenbacker Renewable Energy. Per WAC 463-66100, the transfer of an SCA requires a public informational meeting to be held, which is scheduled for this evening from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Details on the meeting were provided via our mailing list, the local paper, which is the Daily Record, and is available on our website. The current certificate holder will be presenting an overview of the request, and EFSEC staff will be speaking to the amendment process during the meeting. And then time will be provided at the end of the meeting for the public to make comment. And our online comment database will also be open for the duration of the meeting as well. Are there any questions?
Is the comment database that will be open later, or is it open now?
I believe it starts at 5 p.m., but I think Joan might be able to speak to that.
That's correct. It starts at 5 p.m.
Okay, so it's open during the time of the public meeting.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So there will be presentations, and those will also be then posted on our website. Should anyone want to look at those at a later date?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. But anyone who is interested is welcome to join us at 5 o'clock today and to make comments about the amendment, which includes dropping the 2 sites and also change of ownership. So we do welcome participation. Thank you, Mr. Overton.
Thank you.
Desert Claim project update, Ms. Moon.
Good afternoon, Council Chair Drew and council members. For the record, this is Amy Moon providing an update on the Desert Claim project. EFSEC staff continue to coordinate with Desert Claim. However, currently there are no project updates.
Thank you. And now we move to Horse Heaven Wind Farm, Ms. Moon.
All right, thank you again. Good afternoon, Chair Drew, council members on the new project, Horse Heaven. This is Amy Moon again. EFSEC staff continue to work with the applicant and our contractor Golder on data requests. The response to data request number 2 was received on August 16th and is under review. Data request number 3 was submitted to the applicant July 22nd and a response is due August 23rd. This request asks for information and clarification on noise, wildlife, and recreation. The data requests inform the SEPA scoping process, and again, SEPA is the State Environmental Policy Act. So the data requests inform the SEPA scoping process as well as preparation of the draft environmental impact statement, which is also known as an EIS. Part of the data gathering effort has included meetings with EFSEC, EFSEC's SEPA contractor, which is Golder, and the applicant to discuss and clarify each data request. The responses to the 3 data requests are an important part of preparing the draft EIS as they can close information gaps as well as provide integral information on the project proposal and alternative analysis. A site visit to the project area was conducted on July 23rd with the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, or WDFW. The applicant, EFSEC, and the EFSEC contractor Golder participated in the site visit. The site visit was conducted at the request of Fish and Wildlife to assist in their review of the project proposal. The site visit included potential wildlife corridors, examples of existing wildlife habitat, such as shrub, steppe, grassland, and habitat for species of concern, as well as canyons and proposed utility crossings. EFSEC continues their work on SEPA scoping and will prepare a recommendation to the EFSEC SEPA responsible official on resource topics to be considered in the draft environmental impact statement. The scoping decision by the SEPA responsible official will inform the overall project schedule development. Information received in the application, responses to data requests, public comment during the SEPA scoping comment period, and agency comments are being used to prepare the recommendation to the EFSEC SEPA responsible official. And once the scope is determined, the draft EIS, also known as the DEIS, will be prepared. As stated in the July 2021 Council update, staff are anticipating a 30-day public comment period for the DEIS. Additionally, staff are coordinating with Judge Torum to schedule the next steps for the adjudicative process. Does the council have any questions?
A couple of questions I have. First of all, you mentioned the data requests. Are those available for the public to see?
Yes, those are on the EFSEC Horse Heaven Wind project for the public to see. You go to the tab that's for SEPA, I believe, and they're on there. So the request submittals are there, as well as the response to data request 1 and the response to data request 2.
So I know it's challenging for people who are interested in the project to follow along a little bit, but that is one way to follow along, because there's a period of time here where we really have to delve into all the questions that the public has raised and the information that's in the application in order to prepare a draft EIS for the public to comment on. So all of that work is going on, but that one way the public can follow it is through the data requests. And then we'll have more information when the SEPA responsible official, which is Ms. Bumpus, makes a determination of the information that we'll be requiring in the draft EIS. Did I misstate anything there, Ms. Moon?
Well, for what Sonia Bumpus will be doing is determining the resource topics that are going to go into depth in the draft EIS.
Okay. And
the data requests certainly give an indication of what those topics are most likely to be.
Okay, that's very helpful. And let's see, did I have any other questions? Are there questions from council members?
Chair Drew, this is Mike Livingston.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't have a question. I just want to thank and say I appreciate the opportunity that's been provided by EFSEC staff and the project proponent for WDFW staff to get out there. This is a very large project, and there's lots of considerations to be analyzed, particularly related to wildlife and habitat corridors. So really appreciate that opportunity that was provided to those staff, and just want to acknowledge that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, there's a lot of work behind the scenes that's difficult for people to see as they follow along with this. The other comment I wanted to make is we talk about the adjudication, which won't take place until after we receive the draft EIS. Is that correct, Ms. Moon?
So I'm going to have to defer to Amy Hofkemeyer on adjudication, because to be very telling, I have not gone through that process as an EFSEC staff member, but Amy has, and she's been very involved in setting that up.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair Drew and Ms. Moon. We are currently working with Judge Torum to set a schedule and put a plan in place for the adjudicative process. And based on past experience, we found that it is most helpful for parties to the adjudication and the council for the adjudication to occur after the draft EIS has come out. And so that is our intent. But there are activities that need to take place prior to the adjudication. And so we are working on scheduling those activities as well with Judge Torum.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. That, I think, helps explain the process we're in, and hopefully for members of the public. At this point, we don't plan to have a public meeting in person in the Tri-Cities. I think that we very much want to do that, but the appropriate time for us really will be to hear comments on the draft EIS. So that's really what we're looking towards, is during the period of time that there is comment on the draft EIS would be the most productive time to have a meeting in person in the community. And we hope very much that the condition of the pandemic improves so we can do that as well. But that's what we're anticipating. So I know there have been questions about that in terms of why we haven't had a public meeting yet. Certainly it's been because of the COVID issues. And we do expect to do that as part of the review of the draft EIS, to have that public comment period in the community. So that is our current, the way we're currently looking at it. Are there any comments or questions from council members? Oh, the question came in from the public is, when does that draft EIS? It won't be for a few months because we have yet to complete the final scoping of the document, and then the areas we want thorough review in the different areas that will be the subject of the EIS. So that will take a few months. So it will be after that period of time when the draft EIS, and we'll have each meeting, we should get more information about when that, to confirm that in the schedule, as we know the amount of work that needs to be done for the EIS. Ms. Bumpus, is there anything you want to add, or hopefully I've gotten that pretty correct?
I would just, I think I would just add that, or reiterate rather, that, yeah, the point Chair Drew about as we get more information about what we need to do in the draft EIS, the prospective schedule will start to gel. It will start to take shape, and we'll have a better idea over the next several weeks about what that time frame will look like.
So thank you for all of the people who are interested in this project and are following it, and we will keep you posted. Okay, moving on to Goose Prairie Solar project update.
Thank you. Yeah, this is Kyle Overton, the site specialist for the Goose Prairie project again. Before I get into Goose Prairie, I did have a correction for my Columbia Solar update. The request for transferring of the SEAs was for the Camas, Penstemon, and Utica sites. I said that Fumaria is one of them, but it was Utica.
Thank you.
Yeah, so with that out of the way, for Goose Prairie, during the August 6th special council meeting, the council voted to approve the January 21st application for expedited processing for the Goose Prairie Solar project. So at this time, the staff are coordinating with our AG, John Thompson, in preparation of holding a public comment period and meeting, which we are anticipating to have scheduled before the September council meeting. Staff are also continuing their review of the application materials and are in the early stages of developing a draft recommendation for the council's review. And that's kind of where we're at this point. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions from the council members about the Goose Prairie Solar project? Hearing none. We will expect to hear further from you about the scheduling of that public comment period and public meeting then.
Definitely will do. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. That concludes our agenda for today's meeting. Again, we will have the public informational meeting on the Columbia Solar site certification agreement amendment at 5 p.m. today. For those of you who are interested, please join us then. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.